What is the tree which
That's
was
right.
forbidden for Adam?
Right. You know, this tree has been very intriguing, not only to the Muslims but also to the Jews and the Christians alike. All three religions are wondering and searching for the discovery of the nature of that tree. In Christianity, generally it is referred to as apple tree. But many a Christian scholar has commented on this, also Jewish scholars, and they understand this term to apply to some spiritual message of sin or fault. And most often, unfortunately, they have inclined towards explaining it in the terms of man-woman relationship. And as such, Hawa is presented as tempting to Adam. And Adam fell for that trap, and then the eyes were opened, and this is, they feel, is the reason why their being naked is shown to them. As if they for the first time realized that they were naked. And they tried to hide themselves with the leaves of the garden. All this is absolutely unacceptable by the Quranic expression, as we will demonstrate. It's just a wild goose chase for a meaning which escapes them and they can't reach it anyway. And anything which is contradictory to the nature of prophethood and message of God cannot be acceptable at all anyway. And the Holy Quran has resolved this issue immediately by referring to Hawa as his Zauj. You see? Adam and his Zauj. So they were already, it seems, a married couple. So why should the married couple not know this? And why should their relationship become a sin at all? So Hawa and Adam, as presented by the Holy Quran, present also the key to the understanding of this. So it was nothing, it had nothing to do with their own personal sin of this nature, as they generally understand. Some Muslim scholars have also drifted in that direction, and some say it was wheat, the wheat crop, and the fruit of wheat, that is the seed of wheat, was forbidden them. And because they ate the seed of wheat, so they were made dependent on this forever, and this was the crime they had committed. Now, how stupid it seems, unbelievable that God should create the seed of wheat for the purpose of sustenance of human race, and should declare it forbidden. What is wrong with the seed of wheat? And while the Satan, according to the Bible, boasts of this tree being a tree which has been intentionally hidden by God, or kept from by God for the humans to eat, with the purpose of keeping them in darkness, with the purpose of shackling their intellects, so they may not become wise. They may not begin to see things as God sees things, and so they may not become eternal. This is what Satan said, according to the Bible, but not according to the Quran. So there again there is a big difference. So for the identification of this tree, we have to look at it from various angles, as has been seen and observed in the history of Muslim scholars' search for this dilemma, the solution of this dilemma, and for the in the history of Christianity and Judaism for their respective search for this dilemma. What the Quran has to say on this, I'll come to that later after this translation, please. Now, as far as that Shajarah is concerned, to call it an apple tree or a wheat tree or a sin related to man and woman relationship, that is totally unacceptable. And again, it is unbelievable that by the time Adam and Hawa were born, only around 6,000 years from now, 6,000 years behind us, the relationship between man and woman was unknown to any human beings. This is so stupid, unbelievable, completely rejected outright by the known history of human civilization. See, human civilized history extends back at least 25,000 years here in Europe, when they had learned to live like man and wife, and according to their own customs of the time, they lived in pairs and they knew how the children were born. And it extends at least, no, not at least, but generally 40,000 years in Australia, the history of civilization. And they knew how to live like husband and wife. So such a commentary on a divine book, which renders the nature of divine book as a book totally unworthy of trust, which gives lie to the united lesson of history we have drawn, or unanimous, I should say, not united, unanimous lesson of history that we have drawn from the study of human race all over the world. So these views are only of such ulama or mashayikh or Christian priests or Jewish elders who have a very limited view of the world around, read only the scriptures without knowing how God has created things, how God has created man. So this is unacceptable, absolutely rejectable. Again, according to Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the history of Adam extends much farther back, and according to some traditions which have been referred to by Ibn Arabi, the Adams had started coming 100,000 or more beyond, and Khana Kaaba has always been the center of their worship. And they have been circuiting around Khana Kaaba. So he saw once in a vision that Khana Kaaba was visited by certain people who seemed to be, different. And they were singing a song while circuiting, that we are circuiting this ancient house of God like prior to us, children of other Adams also used to do this. So he inquired, amazed, at what do you mean by children of other? He said, we are the children. He said, which Adam are you talking about? There's so many. During the past 100,000 or more years, so many Adams have appeared in the world. So which Adam are you talking about? Then, this is a general reference to, not a detailed, absolutely correct account, but the substance of this observation of Ibn Arabi is correct. The central point of this is that when I heard this man singing and circulating Kaaba, and when I inquired from him and he told me that our Adam was just one of so many, then I remembered a hadith, he writes, in which Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam had reported that hundreds of thousands or maybe 100,000 Adams had appeared in the world at different times. So with this grand view of the human race having been born much, much earlier than the time of this Adam, as we know, we come to the exact scientific finding of man to tally with this. There is no contradiction between scientific research or social research into the man's past and behavior and civilization, evolution of civilization, etc. Read them together and there is no contradiction. So this has to be accepted as a fact, and anything contradictory to this fact should not be acceptable. See, as yet I have not yet spoken of this Shajarah. I'm only talking that I'm only pointing out that all interpretations which contradict the human historical experience and the scientific experience must be rejected. Adam and Eve, as the Holy Quran has said, must be accepted as husband and wife. They knew what their auras were. They knew what they should hide and what they should not. Man had reached an advanced civilization. Man had learned to live in the open, in built houses built by man. It was no longer the age of the caves. It was no longer the age of the stones or other such ages like Iron Age and things. It was a very advanced age we're talking about. So any interpretation which is contradictory to this accepted unanimous verdict of man's research must be rejected. Correct? But we'll go bit by bit. Let him first translate, then inshallah we'll turn to the other part. Then Ibn Arabi says that this reminded him of a hadith in which Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said exactly the same thing. Now, although he does not report the sanad, but Ibn Arabi is a man of high spiritual value. Had he not heard this hadith from reliable sources, he could not have quoted it. And because this hadith is also applicable to our scientific knowledge and tallies with it, so there is no reason whatsoever to reject it as a false hadith. Now I turn to the Quranic references, taking it up from the beginning to the end. Because this is very important, we must have a very clear view of what the Quran speaks of our ancestors, and what they did and what they did not and all that. The whole episode began with the izn of God to angels to prostrate before Adam. The whole story begins from that point. But to which Adam? The Adam to which Allah requires angels to prostrate is the one who has not only been prepared completely and finally completed, but the one in whom Allah breathes Himself. فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. سَوَّيْتُهُ is not enough. Nafkh ruh is important. So we are talking of Sharia. We are talking of the first religion which appeared at the beginning of our civilization. The first religion upon which was to appear the ultimate fruit of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we are talking of this line of trees, and the story begins with this command of Allah that I am going to create Adam, not the first man, but one of the men. who will be chosen by me, and when I breathe into him, then you must all prostrate. Because breath of God means ilham. Breath of God means the wahi of nabuwa. So this is what makes him ulul amr. Otherwise man cannot be ulul amr. Amr Rabbi is breathed into him from God, and then he becomes representative of God on earth, and as such vicegerent he appears on earth as the ruler of the whole mankind by the izn of God, by the command of God, not by himself. So this is what we are witnessing, what happened. Man was already advanced and civilized. When Satan refused to follow Adam, considering him to be below him, then all the trouble begins. And then Satan, talking back to God, says, first of all, he says, give me more respite, more time, and don't give me more time till the end of the world, that is, till the day of resurrection or doomsday. Give me respite till doomsday. And if you do that, God said, yes, I give you this respite. He said, what I'll do, I'll sit on the path of Adam and his progeny, and I'll misguide them. I will draw them away from the right path, and then you will see how many I take away from you. Is this the thing to which you wanted me to bow? That's a taunt. You have chosen Adam, and within your sight, if you permit me, I can cheat them, I can deceive them, I can lead them away from the right path, and till the end of the time you will see most of your servants would have become my servants. So that was a boast, but a very logical boast indeed. He said, you say I bow to them, they are going to bow to me. And I'm going to prove to you. So God said, still I permit that. But those who are truly my servants, who belong to me, do whatever you may, you will not be able to lead them away. Only those who are defective, who have already failed in abiding my instruction, they are your Lord, you can take away, I don't care for them. Hell will be the abode of you and all you who follow you. But ibadi laysa laka alayhim sultan. As far as my servants are concerned, and this was a wonderful reply to Adam's boast. His logic seemed to be a superior logic, apparently, because he said, you ask me to bow to them and they are going to prostrate to me. I'll drive them away. Shall I bow to people like these? God said, no. When I make my Khalifa, I make my Khalifa from my chosen servants. They will never bow to you. And this is the meaning of Adam, the creation of Adam from an Adam. This is Khalq-e Akhar. So God was speaking of Khalq-e Akhar. He didn't say bow to Adam, because Adam didn't mean much. He said Adams are so many, but the ones who become mine, in whom I breathe, they are superior to you. There is no question of that. They will not prostrate before you. Even if they make mistake, they'll turn back to me. You can't take them away permanently from me. Now after this, the order of living in Jannah and not going to the Shajarah follows this. So let us read from the Holy Quran. In this context, what is the meaning of Shajarah as it appears logically? Yes. First of all, قال اخرج منها مذءوما مدحورا لمن تبعك منهم لأملأن جهنم منكم أجمعين. God said to him, get out hence, despised and banished. Just vanish from here. Whoever of them shall follow thee, I will surely fill hell with you all. Why hell? Can you find a reason why hell? Because Satan had said, you have made me a fire and you have made Adam a wet clay. So if the wet clay chooses to follow fire, then let it go to fire. Again, there is no compulsion from God. When you worship fire, when you choose your master as the one made by fire, so fire has to be your Lord. This is your own choice. God had not made you to be sent to fire. You have chosen the path yourself. So this is why the Holy Quran says, all right, then hell would be the abode of you and all those who have chosen to follow you. But as far as Adam is concerned, here now listen. وَيَا آدَمُ اسْكُنْ أَنْتَ وَزَوْجُكَ الْجَنَّةَ. Already they are husband and wife. Where is the sin involved? As far as Adam is concerned, he said, oh Adam, listen to me. You live, you and your wife, in this Jannah. فَكُلَا مِنْ حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا. Eat from whatever you please. وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةَ. Don't get near this Shajarah. فَتَكُونَ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And otherwise, if you do that, you will become transgressors. The Shajarah is the Shajarah of violating the law of God. Shariat has already been revealed to Adam. Otherwise, the breath does not mean anything. فَإِذَا نَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. The ruh of God is that Amr. Because يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلْ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. So it is Amr and Ruh or Sharia, whatever you call it, which we are dealing with here in this situation. So that Shajarah must be a representation of violation of the religious law which was revealed to Adam. Right? If you are lax in that, if you fall into the trap of Satan and go near this Shajarah, then you like him, you will be defying my authority. And if you defy my authority, then you will be like him, min az-zalimin. It's very logical and understandable. Now, why should we translate Shajarah as an evil tree? An evil tree in the sense that you violate the laws of God, the word of God. This has already been explained in the Holy Quran in such clear terms that leave no doubt for us that this translation and interpretation is correct. Masal kashajaratin. Now this is a masal. Remember this. There was no such tree as bearing fruits of this sort. Alam tara kayfa daraba Allahu mathalan kalimatan tayyibatan kashajaratin tayyibatin asluha thabitun wa faruha fi samaa tuti ukulaha kulla hinin bi'izni rabbiha wa yadribu Allahu al-amthal lin-nasi la'allahum yatadhakkarun wa mathalu kalimatin khabithatin kashajaratin khabitha. This is a shajara khabitha. You see? كمثل الشجرة كشجرة خبيثة اجتثت من فوق الأرض ما لها من قرار. Those who do not follow the word of God, there are no roots left. They are carried away by winds, from all sides, in whichever direction they blow. They carry such trees uprooted foliage and trees, etc. Here today, there tomorrow, and there's no direction, no footing. While about the Shajarah Tayyibah is also kalam, because it says kalimatan tayyibah. It's the word of God. It is deeply rooted. It is firm. And it cannot be carried away from here to there. The winds do not destroy it. And although deeply rooted on earth, it has its shoots, its branches, talking with the heavens, because they rise so high as the end, the top of such trees is in the heavens. And what happens to them? They draw their fruits from heaven, because it says asluha sabitun wa farruha fis sama tuti ukulaha kulla hinin bi'izni rabbiha. They are not dependent on either spring or afflicted by the fall. Changing seasons and times do not matter to them. They're constant, and they constantly receive fruit of their piety from the Lord. Because farruha fis sama, they rise towards God. وَيَضْرِبُ اللَّهُ الْأَمْثَالَ لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. God quotes these examples and so that to remind you, you think, you draw your lessons from these things. So according to this, the Shajarah Khabisa is that path which breaks and violates the law of God revealed to prophets. And every time a new Adam is born, when a Sharia is born, every time this trial begins anew, and new Satans and no new Iblises are created to oppose the path of the Sharia. And this also gives you the true meaning of Jannah on earth. This Jannah was not rooted somewhere in the heaven, because both trees, the good tree and the bad trees, the Jannah and the evil tree, they were rooted firmly in earth. Not firmly, the Jannah was firmly rooted, the other was just uprooted tree. So any tree of Jannah which becomes uprooted and dies out, this becomes the non-tayyib, filthy tree which is created out of violence, out of violation of God's laws. And if you do not violate the laws of God, then a Jannah on earth is created for man. The moment you begin to violate His laws, the same you are turned out of the Jannah means that instead of living in a Jannah, you begin to see that you are living in a hell. So man creates his own Jannah here on earth by following the teachings of Allah, and by defying the same teachings, he creates hell for himself. So he no longer lives in that Jannah. So it is the movement from one state of affairs to another state of affairs. Now, although Adam was forgiven by God, because when he committed a violation of God's instruction, whatever it was, he did not do it with conscious effort. He was mistaken. Satan had him slip. So the Holy Quran says, according to the Holy Quran, Allah tells us, وَلَمْ نَجِدْ لَهُ azma. He slipped, but it was not a willful act of sin. So Anbiya are masoom from this. So was Adam. Although he made a mistake, but not willfully. He was led to believe in something which was not true. And the moment he realized, then he started turning to God with prayers and addressing Him as if he did not forgive him, then he would be from among the Zalimeen. Nothing else could save him. Now, sa'atihima are this weakness. All the weaknesses or ills which are always created because of violation of God's law. Whenever you break a law of God, a concomitant evil is born. And constantly the heaven continues to turn into hell for mankind in relation to their violation of God's laws and at the speed at which they violate the laws of God. Now, this is not just a sermon, it is a hard fact I'm talking about. A reality which can be understood and demonstrated to you all easily. Now, look at any state in the world today, any political state, any country of the world today. The violation of God's commands it is which creates crimes. And it is the crimes which make the life hellish here on earth. And when the believers in a book or in a messenger follow the messenger to the very last letter and spirit, a heaven is created where everybody is in peace and everybody is so happy, everybody is taking care of his brothers if they are at disadvantage. There is no widow left untaken care of. There is no orphan left without there is some mentor to take care of his requirements and needs. There is no needy left to die in hunger. There is no destitute to bite dust. For every such person, a provision is made. And the minimum of heaven, which is described in the Holy Quran, which was given to Adam, is exactly this. لا تظمأ فيها ولا تضحى لا تجوع فيها ولا تعرى. Inna laka. What is the Jannah? It is described there. Inna laka alla tajua fiha wala tara wa annaka la tadma'u fiha wala tadha. These are the four basic requirements of human survival. This was the Jannah which was granted to Adam. As long as he and his followers remained within the four walls of Allah's instruction, none was hungry, none was left without a shade, a cover over his head, without a roof over his head, none was without a dress, none was without water to drink from. This is the minimum requirements of human survival, which is guaranteed by religion when it comes, because religion creates sensibility to other people's requirements and needs. Religion prepares that ultimate consciousness of the surrounding. There is no longer one individual living for himself. It is religion which broadens the consciousness of life. And the suffering of another person somewhere else becomes the suffering of another person at a distant place, at a different place. So this is the meaning of unity of Mu'mineen. When a Jamaat of Mu'mineen is created, according to Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even if the toe suffers, the whole body feels the pain. When this happens, then nothing is left deprived of its due sources of survival, because the toes are situated at the very disadvantageous place. They take all the load and they serve, and there is nothing much in them to enjoy the consciousness of the head. Yet even if a small toe is suffering, the head will never rest in peace. Some heads are stricken against the walls because there is pain in the little toe here. This is the Jannah which is created, and as such the minimum equal requirements of the whole society are guaranteed. Now when you begin to break the laws bit by bit, this Jannah crumbles off. And when Adam did such a mistake, although he was forgiven, he could not have been turned out of heaven or this Jannah himself. But wherever the followers of a prophet go, so must also the prophets go along with them. When the people of Moses sinned and the Israelites were decreed to roam in the deserts for 40 years, did not Moses do the same with them? So it is not a question. Here Adam is not punished, nor Havva, because the Holy Quran tells us they were already forgiven. But the society around them, they had in fact followed the violation of God's command to a degree where it was no longer the Jannah. So instead of addressing the two, the Holy Quran speaks of the whole party, the whole people. Ehbitu minha jamiya. Now, if Adam and Havva were punished for their sin, what is this jamiya? Satan is already turned out of Jannah. So this jamiya shows that our interpretation is exactly right, is exactly according to the true import of the Quranic verses. It was the whole society of believers in Adam, which were living in peace. When they started violating the laws of God, Adam, of course, was immediately realized and he was forgiven. But ordinary people went on. This is what happens every time. So this is the Shajarah Khabisa, which creates hell for a society which is created for Jannah. Translate this, and if we have time, we'll continue to follow the same subject more further, right? Otherwise, next time, inshallah. In fact, Shaitan was the first Shajarah Khabisa. It was a symbol of defiance of God, you know. Don't go near to such people who lead you away from God. Malan ila taqsir.
بميلان إلى التقصير.
This is hidden in every body. So when you lean towards that melan, then we begin to follow Shajarah Khabisa.
فيقول
Adam and Eve were shown by God, beware of mistakes in future. They are within you sometimes. And this is the meaning of Shaitan Majra Dam, running in the blood. So this is what they were warned against. If you don't do that, then you will turn out of Jannah. And the Jannah is also described. But he tells me that only 1 minute is left. So I think you better do it tomorrow. And before the time I arrive, you try to finish it in full, okay? So this is a very interesting story of what happened in the past and what God warned us against. This incident began at the time of Adam when the first Sharia was revealed. And then the story of sin begins from there. The sin is born always out of violation. And the violation is Shajarah Khabisa, which we must not eat the fruit of. In short, this is the summing up. We'll turn to the rest tomorrow, inshallah, after the translation is completed, right? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.